Okay, so in order to demonstrate PeerMark to you, I really need to use my Sandbox site. So this isn't your own Sandbox site or your own site for Blackboard, but it's similar enough. I think that you can be okay with doing this. And the idea is that we want to teach you how to build a PeerMark assignment. Now, just to let you know that PeerMark is a peer review program from Turnitin, and it allows students to peer review each other's papers. And the idea behind the assignment is students will submit to what we call a paper assignment first, and then once all of those submissions have been collected by the paper assignment, then we'll take those submissions and we'll redirect, we'll push them out to other students so that the students can peer review each other's papers. And you've got a lot of options about how you set this up. So I'm going to be showing you then the most familiar options and talking your way through it so that you understand how to use this. Okay, so the very first thing that you would do if you wanted to set up a PeerMark assignment actually is to set up a paper assignment. So when you go into Turnitin assignments, what you would select would be the Turnitin paper assignment first. And you'll set up your paper assignment so that then all of the papers collected in the paper assignment can be pushed back out and be reviewed by peers. So just give this a moment to load. Sometimes it takes just a minute. We'll make sure it's still loading, which it is. Now when I load this, it's going to load actually three different assignment types that I can choose from. So notice here that it says paper assignment, PeerMark assignment, and revision assignment. If it's the first time that you are using Turnitin in a class, you will not have three options. You will not have any options at all. Turnitin will automatically direct you to create a paper assignment. After you create that first assignment, that's when you get these three options. And the reason for that is because both PeerMark and revision assignments both depend upon a separate paper assignment. So, and if you read here, it says the paper assignment type is the, I'm sorry, I'm just checking on a couple of things. The paper assignment type is the base assignment for all other assignment types. Now, I've already created a paper assignment, so what I'm going to be doing is going back to the paper assignment to create the PeerMark assignment. So let me show you what I've already done to make sure that you know what I'm up to now. So before we started, I created this paper assignment. Now, when you load a paper assignment, if you are users of Turnitin, you know that it loads the student submission page. If you don't know how to create a Turnitin paper assignment, then there's a video out there that you can watch that will take you through the paper assignment process. And when I created this paper assignment, I set the due dates and the times to where this assignment was going to be over with quite quickly. And I've already uploaded for 4 of my 5 students. So let me show you that. So I'm going to go to the assignment inbox for the paper assignment and show you what I've got. If I go to the assignment inbox, notice that I have all of these students that have already submitted. And now Murray Slaughter, this student, now it's late for him, because my due date has already passed. So the PeerMark relies upon the due date of the paper assignment passing. Once the due date for the paper assignment has passed, a peer review can then take those papers and push them out to the other students. One thing to say about that then, before we talk about the PeerMark assignment itself, is that when you're setting up the paper assignment, my recommendation is actually where it says allow submissions after the due date, that you actually set that to no. Because the way that PeerMark works, if a student submits late, PeerMark has to take all of the student papers that haven't been sent out to, that haven't been reviewed by other people, and reconfigure the algorithm and reshoot the papers back out. And it can sometimes mess up the distribution of papers. So my recommendation, even though I've got it set to yes for demonstration purposes, so I can show you how this works, my recommendation is you do not allow late submissions on PeerMark assignments. Okay, so this is my paper assignment. It's titled Argument Essay Basic. Currently in the assignment inbox, please note that I have 4 students that have turned their papers in and 1 student that hasn't. And now what I'm going to do is set up a PeerMark assignment that is going to allow me to peer review those papers. So I'm going to go to assessments, come to Turnitin assignment, which is what you always do. You do a Turnitin assignment. But instead of selecting paper assignment, this time I'm going to select peer mark assignment. Okay. Any questions so far about what I'm doing or what I'm about to show you how to do? Okay, we'll give it just a minute to load. I don't know why my system's so slow today. It just seems like it's really slow. It might be my internet connection. I'm going to select in this drop-down peer mark and choose next step. And it's going to load the peer mark settings. So, questions so far? Now, take a look at the first setting on the peer mark page. Let me scroll this up a little bit for you so you can see it better. First selection here is to select an assignment. I'm basing this on this argument essay basic that was due the 30th of August, which is today. Now, notice here it says allow papers submitted late to be included in the peer review. So if you did decide to allow people to submit late, you can then check this box to allow them to participate in the peer review. But I will still say to you that if you do that, it can mess up the distribution of papers. So just be aware of that. So I'm not going to allow that. The paper title, now you're going to want to name it. I would probably put peer review into the name somewhere. So I'm going to take the assignment title and let me put in the whole title. And then I'm going to put peer review on the backside of it as the assignment title. You can see what that's going to look like. And that way peer review is going to be very obvious to the students. You can put in a descriptor. Then you can mark whether or not to allow the students to view the author and reviewer names or to allow the students without a paper to review. So you've got these two options, and you can also assign a point value to the assignment. If you, actually that's probably too many. If you want to, you can award full points if a review is written. However, when I show you this review and how it's written, you might decide you don't want to do that because students can just put in a mess of nothing and it's going to award them full points for just doing nothing. So just be aware of that. Now notice here that the default date to start this peer review is the 31st. The default date is always going to be past this due date. So I'm going to go ahead and move this date to the 30th, and I'm not going to set it at 12:01. I can't. I have to wait until after the due date. And right now I think I had the due date set at, I think it's on Eastern time. So let me try this one, see if that'll open up the peer review. And then we're going to set an end peer review date and due date. So let's try this and see what happens. The start date cannot be in the past, so I need to put it a little bit further in the future. So let's try 3:30 or 2:30 rather. I might be uneven. Okay, so now I've got it set up to where this will start at 2:30. We can start doing reviews. Since it's only right now 2:11, and I really want to start this right away. Let's see if I can change this to about 2:12 and see if we can't pick up and be able to work with this right now. Okay, let's see what happens. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set up our distribution. So it looks like when you walk in here, you can just click on that and change it. You can't. You do have to click edit to make any changes here. And the first thing you're going to want to decide is how many papers would you like to be automatically distributed by peer mark? I'm going to say 2. What that means is that the system is going to auto-assign 2 papers to each student for them to review. I also, though, can allow the students to select their own paper. So I'm going to let each student select 1 paper of their own to review. And then I tend to like the students to perform a self-review because a self-review can actually be very helpful to me in finding out how they feel about their own paper. And then that's a total of 4 reviews, and I'm going to save those changes. Now what I'd like to do is save and continue. When I save and continue, it's going to take me to step 3, which is setting up the questions. In step 3, I'm going to set up the questions that are going to be part of the peer review. Unfortunately, peer review does not contain a rubric system. It's built instead of a question system. You can ask 2 different types of questions. You can either do a free response question or you can do a scale question. You also can build, however, libraries of questions. And if you want to build libraries of questions, you can build the library within this viewer here. Or if you notice, there's a libraries tab up at the top. So let me go here and I'll show it to you. And in this libraries tab, you have a peer-marked questions library where you can add a library and build questions using that. This, I think, screen is a little bit easier to use. Like I can come in here, I can add a library. And when you add a library, you'll title it, and you'll save it, and you'll add questions to it. So when I click add questions, I can either pull a question in from another library and add it to this one, or I can add a question here. Oh, let me, or I can finish adding the questions from that library, and I can hit add question and I can create a new question. When you create these sample questions, your sample questions when you create your questions, these free response questions, you designate the minimum answer length. That's how many words the students have to type into the blank or into the space in order for the response to count as complete. So this is a free response question, so I can add that question. I also want to show you adding a scale question. A scale question is the closest that you can get to a rubric question. So this is Paige's sample scale question. And if you choose to use a scale, you select the size of the scale, and then you can use words if you would like to describe the different the scale that you're going to actually use. So I'm going to say that 1 means that it was poor and 5 means that it was excellent. Anything in between has those values, and students then rate things on a scale, and I can add this question. Okay. Now, once I have edited my library by either adding questions from existing libraries or creating a new question, I can then finish editing this library. So I can do all of that on the library screen. Now, when I do that, now notice I have this sample, I have a sample library that I have created. Oh, it was actually this one right here. So it must not have titled it, or it must not have taken my title because I was using it. So let's use sample library 2 as the title, and let's save the title. Now when I go into my libraries, I know that that 4-question library is sample library 2. Now I'm going to go back to editing the assignment, and I was in step 3 questions, so I can click on step 3, and it will take me back through the steps. Actually is what it does. It takes me from one step to the next. It takes me back here. Now I can, if I want to, I could go add question, and I could pick up that sample library that I just built, and it's going to add the questions from that library, and I can choose to add all questions. If I wanted to, I could add each individual question at one time, or I can come back in here, and if I want to, oh, I've saved and finished the step, I'm very sorry. If I wanted to, however, I could also add questions. Let me go back into the peer review from previous libraries. So let me show that to you real quick because I clicked the wrong button.
Paige, can I mention something real quick?
Sure.
It's a little bit confusing to me the way you add questions to the peer review thing. And so one time I was adding questions and I didn't save them, or I didn't finish it. And so I just clicked, finish with this assignment or whatever. And my students couldn't see the questions. And I was like, I knew I added them. But so that step that you just did where you actually have to save the questions.
Save and finish.
yeah, to that assignment is really important.
So thank you. Thanks, Taylor, because you've had experience, and that's very helpful to the rest of us of doing this. So let's go back and review what you just said. You said that, if I'm hearing you correctly, and this is going to take me through both steps, which kind of drives me crazy, but that's okay. You're talking about that you have to make sure that you save or that you save and finish. Is that what you're telling us?
No, no, no. I'm saying that when you click add question, okay, so choose a library.
Oh, if you choose a library, it's going to give you this.
Yeah,
you
so if you
click add this question or add all questions.
Right, and so it seems like you've already added it, and so if you go to save and finish, it doesn't save them.
No, it doesn't. I have to pick, like if I wanted to add this question, I have to pick a question to add. And then once I hit save and finish here, it's going to create the assignment for me. So I had hit that too quickly before I got a chance to show the other part of it.
Yeah.
So that being said, so Taylor, that was a great point. Does anybody else have questions so far about what I've shown you? Okay, my recommendation, to be quite honest with you, on peer mark assignments is organize everything into libraries. This is how I would do it if I were in your shoes. I would come to the libraries here, and I would go to the peer mark question library, and I would go ahead and if you're going to use peer mark, go ahead and create a library and add your questions that you want to your library. And then when you go into peer mark, just add the library. That's how I would do it. But it's up to you how you want to manage that. You can then pick other questions from other libraries and add them in, but that's a great starting point. And I would probably organize my library by assignment type. So like an argument essay, that would be a library of questions that these are the questions I always propose when the students are doing an argument essay. So just some thoughts for you as you figure out how to organize peer mark. Okay, so once peer mark has been created, notice here that my students, I've got 5 of them, right? And they have been assigned reviews. So now they've all been assigned their reviews, but none of them have completed it. So over here, you have show details, and then you have more actions. If you drop down the more actions, notice that right now the only option you have is to write an instructor review. So the next thing I'm going to do for you is to write an instructor review so that you can see the review process. Then what I want to do for you is actually log in as a student and show you what the student sees when they do a review, so you can kind of get an idea of what theirs is. So I'm going to do write an instructor review. Now this is the peer mark document viewer. The peer mark document viewer is different from Feedback Studio. However, if you have used Turnitin for a long, long time, it will remind you of the original classic viewer that Turnitin had before we had Feedback Studio. So it just was not updated. On the left-hand side, you can print or you can use the tools. On the left-hand side, you have a column view of the questions that were added. You can change the view to a horizontal view and put the questions at the top and then the document at the bottom. So that's just choice as to how you want to do this. If you're doing an instructor review, and I want to go to the split view. If you're doing an instructor review, you're just basically answering the questions that you pose to the students. It's a great way for you to review the paper if you want to give the students more feedback. So I might tell them it's okay. Now, this is a question. See how I gave a 5-word minimum. When I told you a minute ago, students can just type in anything that they want to, that's what I was talking about. And so then when they start selecting here and selecting here, watch the score up here for the students. It's going to start tallying for them how much of this that they have completed. So now it's 100% complete, but remember I typed in a bunch of junk here. So as the instructor, you have to be able to read it to be able to determine whether or not the review is accurate. Now, if this student clicks inside the viewer, they'll have the ability to add a comment. If they add a comment and then save it, because they do have to save in this viewer, there's the comment. The other students can click on it, see the comment, If you come over here to the comments section, all of those comments are going to show in a list, so they can see a list view of all of their comments. So that's a pretty nice feature. In addition to that, there's a tools icon here. They can open up the tools, and this gives them the ability to type a text comment. Now, if they're doing a text comment like this one, blue is my favorite, because when they start to type, oh, wait a minute. That's what it's going to look like. So I don't really necessarily like the color schemes that are in here for the text comments, because you can't really see them that well, but blue tends to be probably one of the better colors to use. They also have the ability to highlight. So I can click on the highlighting color, and this right here, by the way, is a strike through, and this is an underline. So we can highlight. So if they pick a color and then they start to draw past it, they can highlight. When they highlight, they have the ability to then add a comment to the highlight. So this is, remember, what the students are doing. One of the things that I would recommend is that if you're going to use peer mark, is that you actually go through the demonstration that I'm going through. And remember, the way that I did this was by actually writing a comment on a student paper. And it's a good way to just go through. They also have these spelling these composition marks. There's just a few of them, but they're pretty good. Awkward, word choice, run on sentences, citation, office hours, and a writing lab comment. This is transpose, and this is, of course, insert. So and this is your paragraph, new paragraph. So you can use these if you want to. I'll show you the strike through really quick because we didn't go through that. So that's what the strike through looks like. Again, they can write a comment. And then you also have the ability to use the underline here. So this is what that looks like. So questions about the document viewer for the students.
Do they have to, does it automatically save as they go?
It automatically saves as they go, except for the commenting.
Okay.
So in order to save the comment, they need to click save. Any other questions? When the students have finished, it is extremely important that they hit the submit button. So they need to submit it, and then they can return to the assignment inbox. Now notice that now I've just demonstrated for you an instructor review. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back, and I'm going to log in as this student, Ted, and show you what the students see on the flip side of this. So let's log out as the instructor. So I need to go up to the top, log out, and we'll go in as Ted Baxter. And then Ted needs to make his way into the course. Oh, sorry about that. Go up. It's this course. And he goes into the content side, and this is what he's going to see. So this is his original argument essay. This is his argument essay peer review. He's already submitted for the essay, so now he's completing the peer reviews. So he goes into the peer review. And down here, he's in the assignment inbox. So see where it says write reviews or read reviews. So he's got two options. You can also click here, and he can see some instructions for the original assignment. So if he clicks write reviews, then he has the opportunity to start a review, start a second review, select a paper to review, or start a self-review. So remember, those are the 4 items that I gave him when I did the assignment setup. So if he chooses start review, get started, this is what he's going to see. Now notice it's the same thing that the professor just did. So he can come in, he can type in, and he can complete the review like this. And he can add any kind of tools that he wants. Don't forget to tell your students that in order to get the tools menu, they have to select or click tools in order to see the tools in the commenting. And then he can add the comments to this review as much as he wants to. Okay, so any questions then about how the student comes in and conducts a review?
I wouldn't want Ted to review my paper, that's for sure.
I know, isn't it terrible? So Ted is not a very nice person. So now the students can save. And notice I'll get this message that saving is different from submitting. So it's very important that when they're doing this, that when they have finished the review, that they submit it, because that's the actual act of completion. Saving is just going to take them back here where they can go in and they can start another one. They can also select a paper to review. So if they come in here and select a paper to review, well, I've already given him 2, so now he's got 2 left that he hasn't, so I'm going to review this submission. And yes, continue to peer mark. So this is what happens this is what they see if they choose to select. And I didn't let them see the author's names. However, the author's names will be in the paper if it's at the top of the paper. So if you really wanted to hide author names, you need to tell the students to put their names at the end of the paper, not at the beginning of the paper. Okay, and so he comes in and then he makes his selections. Okay, any questions about how the student comes in and does their papers? And then he needs to make sure that he submits. Well, let's see if we can get him to get the completion box up here to fill. Oh, there it goes. So he's going to submit and return to the inbox. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you back to the teacher view and let you see the teacher view of how this.
Paige?
Yes.
Well, is there any indication for the student that he's submitted those reviews?
If he goes in here and he does, once he's done all of them, like this is the other one he needed to do, then I think that when he opens it back up, he sees his reviews. So, but let's check. Because I know in our other integrations it does, but I can't remember in Blackboard if it does. So let's save that. Okay. And, I think I need to submit. And then the last thing he needs to do is his self-review. So let's just complete all of his. By the way, when I was testing this is why I only put 5 words in here. Make it easier for me. Okay. If I put 30 words, I have to do that 30 times. Oh, I meant to submit. Okay, so if I click Get Started again, a new review cannot be started because all reviews of this type have begun.
Okay.
So that's what they get.
Okay.
So is that okay with you?
Yeah, it's fine. It would be cool if it had like a check mark or, you know, right, submitted or whatever. But that's cool.
I agree with you. I think that it would be very cool. What I don't know is now that I've gone to this page, oops, I'm getting a 404 error. Okay, now I'm back, but I'm at the class home page. I'm in Turnitin.com. Am I in Turnitin.com? Let's see.
No, you're still in the API. It's just a new window.
It is. It's a very strange window, though. You know, I need to talk to them about that, Taylor.
Okay.
That's kind of interesting. So I'll recreate that, and then I'm going to talk to Turnitin about where that took them. So here, if he goes to read reviews, he can read his, but there's not going to be any right now because I don't think I have it. Oh, did I review Ted Baxter's paper? I think I did. Paper by Anonymous. Review. Oh, this is for review by Ted Baxter. So this is where they can go and review their reviews. Okay. Let me log in as the instructor. So I'm going to close this window, and this is my instructor. Oh, that's for y'all's window. Y'all's whiteboard sites. I want to go here. Sorry about that. And, oh, okay, so this was back. Oh, it just opened up. That's probably what you were trying to tell me, right? It opened it up in a new window. If he attempts to read reviews, he can read the instructor review. So I did review his paper. But there's no student reviews for him to be reviewed. So this is when I did the review in the very beginning, this was the instructor review I did for Ted Baxter. So Ted can come in and review the papers that people have reviewed his paper, what reviews they are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Let me log out as my student. And let me log back in. Oh, log out. And then now I'm going to log back in as my instructor. And I'm going to navigate to my course. And remember that Turnitin always works through the content tab. And now I'm going to show you what now the instructor sees. Now we have had a student that has conducted some reviews. So give it a second to load. Okay, so questions so far?
I guess the only question I have is, do you have any tips for as far as instructions for students to make this process kind of seamless? Because it's not the most simple assignment, right? You have all these due dates and things that they have to go to. So
I think for the student, it's really not that bad because I'm showing you back and forth between two views.
Uh-huh.
For the student, they just log in and they click the assignment and they write their reviews.
Okay.
And then they just pick which review and they know that they've got 4 to do. So I do agree with you, Taylor. It would be great if it would check them all for them so that they know they've done all 4. But
you haven't heard much feedback in terms of students getting confused or like. Okay.
But I think, again, that's because what I'm showing you is going back and forth between instructor and student. And to me, the instructor part is confusing more so than the student part.
Right.
It takes a pretty good amount of time for instructors to say, okay, I'm figuring this out. So what I was going to show you was Ted Baxter. That's a student that I just went in as. He's done his 4 reviews. Here they are. If you click if you click more actions, let's do that first. Now notice that all of these options are available. Whereas for students who have not, now you have write instructor review and print review student received. So Ted must have done a review for Lou Grant because now Lou has got a review that he has received and you can view what Ted said about Lou's paper. So if I go into this is what Ted said about Lou. And it's going to open it up and it's going to give you just the review and then it'll give you a peer mark copy of the paper. Okay, so this is how you look at what Ted said about Lou. Okay, any questions about that? So your options are going to be dependent upon who has completed what. So now if I let's go back to Ted. If I click Read all reviews students submitted, this is what you're going to see. It takes me back into the document viewer. And if you want to, you can click the print button here to print. You can see all the papers here and you can go to the comments here. So this must have been one of the papers I just quickly went through and didn't add any comments. But you can use these to navigate. Now this right here, these little buttons up at the top, this is a way for you to go to the next paper. So Ted did 4 papers. So now I'm navigating through the 4 papers that Ted did so that I can see all of them. One group of people that tell me that the reason that they use PeerMark from Turnitin and what makes the program, this is the functionality that makes the program work, is the ability for the instructor to go in and see the reviews that are done by one student in order so that they can then assign a grade to that particular student. Because the grade that you're assigning is the grade for TED. And I would recommend just having a spreadsheet that you can start recording your grades in, or something where you just record the grades down as you go, because that's probably the easiest way to do this. And I'm not sure why it's taking so long to load. Usually it does not take this long. Let's see if it's still spinning up top. Okay, so questions so far. Let's see if I can, it may have frozen on me because that's what it looks like it's doing. Let's try to do a refresh of the screen. Let's reload the page. There it goes. So that, by the way, was my, now let's see if we can. See if it'll let us go to the next student. If it doesn't, this is something I need to report, that it wasn't letting me do this. Okay, questions so far? Well, I seem to have hit snags. Let's try going one more time. So Taylor, I'll report that I could not get that to go, because it shouldn't be taking this long to load the next paper.
Yeah, it's worked for me in the past.
Yeah, it's worked for me in the past too, so I'm really not sure why. I've got actually a PeerMark meeting next week, and I'll make sure I bring that up and show that to them. Okay, so if you go back to the assignment, then the other option that you have back here under more actions is please print review students submitted. So if you print the review students submitted, that's going to take you back to that printable version that I showed you earlier. But in this case, it's going to give you, let's see, all of them in one sheet. So if I were the instructor, it might be easier for you to actually to look at the reviews using this print version. So it's kind of up to you how you want to best look at the reviews and monitor them. But that gives you a couple of different options. Okay, questions about PeerMark so far? If you use scale response questions, just want to let you know you can download the responses. And some people, this functionality of this report is open for debate. Some people love it. Some people don't see any usefulness in it. I actually see some usefulness in it, because if you decided that you wanted your peer reviews to be really simple and you just wanted to see the scaled responses of the way students responded, then you can download those. So it's just a way of keeping your peer reviews pretty simple. If you want, you can either show all details or you can hide all details. If you show all details, this is another good view, because it gives you kind of, okay, Ted submitted 4 reviews and he did a self-review, and then these are this is the student he selected, this is the student that he was assigned, and this is the student he was assigned. And then you can also see the instructor review. And then you're given this option of reading all reviews at once. It's really just a nice way to look at the reviews. It gives you a lot more details about it. So highly recommend that you take a look at that. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. So, Taylor, that's kind of what I've got on peer review for you. Is there anything else that you would like to know about peer review?
No, I think that's excellent. I mean, I'd love if there's anyone here joining, I'd love to know maybe any sort of pedagogical reasons you would favor this approach or try to implement it in your course. But as far as the actual tool and Turnitin, I think you've covered everything that we need to know to get started.
So this is Christy. I'm in the College of Ed.
So
just saying, I like this feature, but we also use it in our program area because we have students who are writing their thesis and dissertation thesis, and we want them to, we have critical friend networks, and this helps build the communication around critical friends and being a critical friend when it comes to the writing. So for us, for the pedagogy, it's very helpful for students to be able to read and understand other people's work from a novice point of view, so that you know that what's being covered is in fact being covered in a way that people who don't have an inside view on your topic understand what you're trying to tell them. So that's, aside from the Turnitin aspect of plagiarism, we find this to be a very useful tool just to kind of help with clarity of thought and clarity of writing.
Really? Wow, that's a great use case. Thank you so much for sharing that. Did y'all know that this was Turnitin's first product?
I did not.
This is where the software actually started, was with this peer review.
Interesting.
Does anybody else have a use case or something you can see that this would be useful for?
So one of the things I'd like to develop here in our office is to come up with some libraries for peer review questions, right? And maybe we could. Is there a way to import libraries, or do you have to build them in Turnitin?
Not currently.
Okay.
One of the things that we have asked for, because they are doing some peer mark updates, is this ability to, like we have with quick marks and rubrics, to share peer mark libraries.
Okay, cool.
So I'm hoping, and I have a meeting on next Tuesday, and so I'll make sure and bring that back up again.
Okay.
Anybody else? Taylor, is there anything else that you want me to cover today, or was this sufficient? Or
this is pretty complex, so I think that's good for me, but I want to open it up to everyone else. Maybe while we have Paige here, if there's any particular question you want to ask her, maybe not having to do with peer mark, but anything related to Turnitin, she's your person to answer those. So I encourage you to take advantage of that.
So this is open mic.
Yeah. And this is nice because we're usually rushing to the end. So I like that.
Peer mark's usually a 30 to 45 minute conversation.
I guess I do have one question. I don't know if it's outside your wheelhouse, but I noticed that when I copied a course that I taught last semester, I copied all the content to a course this semester.
Okay.
And one of the assignments in there was a peer mark assignment. Now when I go into that assignment inbox, it looks like a regular Turnitin assignment, a paper submission assignment. So I guess my question is, do peer mark assignments get copied over, or do I need to recreate that each semester? And if you want, I can show you what it looks like.
I can see from a logic point of view why it would be hard for Turnitin to copy a peer mark assignment.
I mean, that's what I was thinking.
Because it's always associated to a paper assignment.
Exactly.
But I will have to ask that question.
Because
so I'm putting that on my list of questions to ask.
Because and when I go to edit assignment, in that what used to be a peer mark assignment, it says update paper assignment. So that seems to be telling me that now it has it formatted as a regular paper assignment.
Does it give you the option of changing it to a peer mark assignment, or does it not?
I don't see where, because it looks just like all the settings for a regular paper assignment.
I'm going to guess that you have to delete that paper assignment and
Okay.
update. Now, when was the last time y'all updated y'all's plugin?
I think it was last spring.
Yeah, so just to let you know that one of the recent updates to the plugin, I can't remember which one, Taylor, so let's talk about it.
Okay.
That for course copy, you used to get ghost columns in the grade book.
Yes.
And they have fixed that.
Are you kidding me?
And it's in one of the latest releases of the plugin.
That's
so
excellent.
You just need to make sure that y'all are on that latest release.
Okay, I will.
Okay, talk to me about that later if we need to.
So that was my only question, but it's something good to know if you're using PeerMark regularly and you copy it from a previous course, you might have to go in and delete that and recreate that. The original assignment will be there, so it's not that hard. And hopefully you saved your questions to a library. You can just pull those down.
I think your libraries are your key to running this. I really do. Creating really good, solid libraries. Totally agree. Because then it's not a problem to re-add your questions because you just add the library.
Right.
Anybody else have questions? It's quiet out there.
It is. Crickets.
So this is Christy again. The plugins, those are something that we do on our own server, or is that something, or our own internet connection, or is that something that the university plugins?
It's the university plugin.
All right, so we don't have to worry about it as the end user. Okay, perfect.
No.
But it does affect you because there was a fix in one of those for that ghost grade. I don't know if y'all have ever seen the ghost gradebook columns.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a knowledge base. If anybody's not familiar with it, we have a knowledge base here that we write articles for Blackboard, Turnitin, Respondus, pretty much any educational technology that we use here. And it's at this website that I just pasted in the chat. But basically we had an article written on how to remove old Turnitin assignments from copied courses. And for semester after semester, that was the most viewed article in our whole knowledge base. Yeah.
Wow.
So
I can believe it. Okay, so this is where your knowledge base is, right?
Right.
Oh, I can so see that.
So if you type in there, Turnitin.
Here, let me move my picture. So this is a good thing to know, though, too, that the knowledge base is here. If I can type in.
And it's funny because I had this long drawn out conversation with Turnitin support.
There it is. How to delete. Okay, so yeah, the latest plugin release addressed that issue.
Okay,
so,
great.
Yeah, work with me, Taylor. Let's get it fixed.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, and I love this, how to create a rubric. That's great. I love this. It's awesome.
All right, well,
well, thank y'all so much.
Yeah, as always, thank you, Paige. And for those of you who joined us, Paige is always great about getting the recording over to me. So in a few days, you'll see an email with a link to that recording. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to send me an email and I can follow up with you. I'm putting my email right here in the chat. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Hey, you too.